So welcome folks, Gavin Mills here. Welcome to another day of Talking Drugs. So last time I was telling you about my varsity experiences and how I dropped out of varsity. First year it was alcohol, too much alcohol, going mad, drinking too much, like everyone, it's like students I suppose in this thing. Second and third year moved into smoking weed. Still drank, still partying, still doing the same thing. But I think what the weed did is it started moving my ambition away. It starts tomorrow's another day, man. Like it's cool, this is all right. And I was having a good time and everything was chilled and the age of Aquarius had dawned. Well, that's what I thought. My God, it wasn't the age of Aquarius, was it? Anyway, dropped out of varsity. My folks had to pay back my bursary. By the way, how do you like my haircut, huh? Wasn't supposed to be the short. I was going to do like a number 3 or something, but I couldn't find the right adapter and I not quite sure which one I did. So I took and I looked and I thought, hiya, what the Kojak? And anyway, so I cut. So it's cool. It's a nice thing about hair. It's like your ears, they keep growing. So moving on. So my folks had to pay back the bursary. It was now we will go to the army. And army, the first year, when you go there, you haven't got much time to do anything else, although it was another pivotal time of my life. It was 1978, and it was a time of Saturday Night Fever. And during our basics, the movie came out, so I didn't really see it at first. We were being chased all around Puerto Cojuerta and marching and doing all the other stupid things that you do in basics. And before we knew it, basics was over. There was no drinking, got pretty clean. I didn't even notice. I mean, when you're young, you're fit, you don't notice whether you're destroying yourself or not. And then we did officer. I was selected for officers course. And during the officers course, Greece came out and they used to have dancing competitions at clubs. And I had a girlfriend who was a dancer. And we used to AWOL and go and enter the dancing competitions. And before long, all the officers in our camp knew, the young officers, what they call national service officers, knew that I was dancing, and then they would give me passes, and we would get them into the clubs and go boogie ourselves off. And yeah, it was still drinking. I mean, in the nightclubs, I was drinking. We had the odd joint and stuff like that, but nothing serious. It was more back to the scotches and the tequilas and the shorts and stuff like that. But I was fit. And we were focused in the officers course. And I think because we turned around and had a lapse in the weed, I was pretty good and I got my rank. And I went to 3-Psi. And at 3-Psi, now I'm an officer. Now I'm cool. I've got people do my little room and there's 3 meals a day, good meals in the office and mess. And we could go out every night. And before we knew it, we had weed, and a couple of the troops had weed, and before, as I say, clustered together, and we were fine. And before we were having joints, taking out, giving them passes, and going join party and have joints, but nothing really big deal. It was, much more. I was in Potchefstroom, so we were the breakers, and we were at the Elgra, I think it was. And we used to go 8 blocks, someone, do the whole thing there at the Elgra, pick up the cheeks. Anyway, so. And that passed, and then I went to the border. 6 months, boom, go to the border, only drinking. People on the border, they drink. There's only alcohol, there's nothing else. I mean, except every now and again, you get a visit from someone, like one of these little celebrity women come and sing nonsense to the troops in those days anyway. And while you're on the border, you don't wash. You don't, when you go on patrols or anything, you don't really wash. I mean, there's no such thing as even shampoo, let alone deodorant and aftershave. But when these women came, man, there were queues. You could smell the camp from about 200 miles of just brute and Paco Rabanne and every kind of, I don't know where these guys used to get it. But these poor women that used to come and see Hinka, and they do their whole party tricks. And they must have smelled like. Anyway, so finished the border, came back in the army, finished my army, no really good incidents. It was something, a piece of success, something I could be proud of. And then I didn't know what I was going to do. And my sister got into a computer course somewhere that you had to go and write an IQ test or something, and then if they like you, if you pass, they invite you to do the course, you don't pay, and then you study, and then they send you to a company afterwards, a company called Vasbyt Pritchard. And so I thought it was a cool thing to do. So I also went and wrote the tests, and I got invited, thankfully. And so off we did the computer course. And while on the course, again, we have a group, and this is where I met a girlfriend that, and again, we had our little cluster of the goofballs, But now I'm starting to realize more and more people are goofballs. I think it looked like everyone in the world basically smoked at some stage or another. And we then started, this is where the fun started, when we started playing with acid, had some LSD. And the big thing was things like slimming, what were those, there was a slimming liquid, can't remember what it was called, and tablets, Slims or something like that, I can't remember, but these things, that we used to take these things, your heart used to go, cook, and then you used to run, and it was insane, it really was, and go and party, and what we're doing to our body, and that's when you start losing focus. You start losing focus. Everything now, you're starting to think at work about, hey, the jaw and getting out of it, and you've got to get, and who we're going to get for, and I wonder who all wants, and this kind of stuff. And, but you're a king. You're under control. You know what's going on. Like so that was the computers. And then it's amazing how you have sort of like forks in your life. Because at the same time, I was out of the army and I danced and won dancing competitions, but I wanted to dance. I used to watch that program Spotlight On and stuff on TV, which was variety shows with dancers. And I saw these dancers. I thought, I really want to do that. My parents looked at me a bit strange, but said, well, whatever blows your hair back. And eventually I started going to classes. I went to start classes in Brakpan with a really cool teacher. And I started learning a little bit. And then they invited her, SABC invited her to do a television show and asked if she had boys in her class, that she teaches. And they had me, and she said she's got me, and but I'm untrained. So off I went to the audition, and I got the part, and we did my first television show, which was a Spotlight On with Dennis East. It was wonderful. And that's where the dancing started. And then in computers, the company I was working for, they were pretty erratic. They didn't seem to know what they wanted. They were writing a specific system, and they couldn't decide what language they wanted to write in. They didn't even decide what computers we should use. And it was, just get on and let's do it. So I actually wrote it. I wrote the system in BASIC and COBOL. And I said, what choose? But it was still confusing. But in the meantime, SABC, after the first Spotlight On, they were phoning me and offering me work. And they were forming a dance company. And there were 5 dancers. There were, 3 boys, 3 guys and 3 girls. And I was invited to join it, one of the first in the SABC dance company. I was untrained. I knew nothing. But I joined it. And one day we used to go away. I was still working computers, so we used to go away on shoots and to Cape Town and Durban and everything, and then come back and work. But sometimes I had to take some time off work to go, go and do these shoots. And my boss was becoming a little bit irritated. Like, sorry, can I go again? We're going to Uppington. Yes, Gavin. This guy. It was like really. And then one day we went for a shoot. I think we went to Durban, and we got back, and the boss said, listen, we need to talk. So off I went, and we had our little talk. And he said, listen, this thing with computers, doing computers and doing this dancing, this is just not happening. It's not good enough for us. We cannot condone it. We cannot tolerate it. Unfortunately, you're going to have to make a decision. So I said, I thought, I've been thinking about the same thing for a while, and I think you're actually right. So he said, okay, good. He says, go back to your office and listen, I want to talk to you later, man. We just got to work on the system. I said, no, sorry, I think that's the wrong decision. That's not the decision I made. I'm going dancing, man. And that was it. I went out and I started dancing. And that changed my life in the direction. I look back and I think, yes, dancing was wonderful. I had such a life. My God, I had a life. But computers, if I had stayed in computers, it was the birth. At that stage, mini computers, personal computers hadn't even come out. We're talking minis and mediums and mainframes and, all these old obsolete things that we used to see. But so I was coming in at the ground level. And off I went. I turned and packed it up and became a professional dancer. And that's when so much changed, so much for the good, so much from experience. But so many tragic little moments as well. I'm not regretting it. I don't regret it at all. I don't regret my life. I really don't. I've lived a bloody amazing life. Tragic, very happy, very sad, all the emotions, interesting life. But I think from my life, there are lessons to be learned. And this is the lesson from there, going into the army. I was pretty focused, but when I was in the army, I should have been thinking about what I'm going to do and make a choice. I defaulted, and this was going to become a sort of a trend in my life, that I defaulted into computers. I didn't choose that I wanted to go into computers. It was like, okay, man, this is cool. Go, write a test, okay, bang, off you go. And then I almost defaulted into dancing by being selected to the SABC Dance School. I wasn't. It was selected, so it was cool. But I was in the right place at the right time. I'd done the right show, and everything clicked together to take me to the direction of life. And then when I went into dancing, I didn't think of the end game either. I didn't think of career. How am I going to make it? I was just, oh boy, when dancing, cool, move to the music, lovely life. I wear hippie clothes. I'm one of the weird guys, keep in shape. Working with girls, what could be finer? And it wasn't, am I going to become a choreographer? Am I going to direct? Where am I going to do? Am I going to produce? Do I want to stay in this country? Where would be the best place to be for my career? None of those thoughts went in my mind. And I think this is it, when you start putting the weighting of your joy, your recreational time above your career, above your life. And this, I think, is what drugs do. It shifts that focus so much. It takes away the ambition, the drive, the commitment. It's like, hey man, tomorrow's another day. That's even just on weed. Let's not go. We haven't even started on the heavy drugs yet. Alcohol just makes you stupid and dumb and obnoxious. It doesn't add value. I mean, this whole like one of the money. Not actually, and I think a lot of people are starting to realize that. I think more and more people are stopping drinking, not just because of the danger and the hazard, but just because it's lost its value, it's lost its appeal. It's no longer the big deal, cool thing to do. I think it's got too bad a reputation now, and it would be nice if drugs, especially heavy drugs, got that kind of reputation. Because unfortunately, the heavy drugs, no one talks about, doesn't it? Do they? Because the people that do the heavy drugs, and there's a lot of you guys out there, aren't there? My God, there's a lot of us, that used to, I don't do anymore, thank God. But we don't want anyone to know. So our dealers are safe. The cops that are corrupt are safe. Everyone is safe because we are too frustrated. We cannot. You're hog-tied. You can't go and talk about it. What will it do to your family? What will it do to your life? What will it do to your career? So these guys are all royal game. And our kids pay the price. They are coming in, the next generation. We had it fast. We got picked up fast. We had the drugs coming into our life. We knew where to get them. We knew what they're doing. It was a cool vibe. All the dealers were the cool ones. I think ours were novices compared to the network and how it works now with social media, online, telephones. And when the cops don't actually want to save it, they're making money. It is their lotto ticket to a lot of them. Not all of them, but I reckon a hell of a lot of them are lining pockets ridiculously with drugs. So there's no inclination, which means we can sit and scream and shout and jump up and down until we're blue in the face. No one is out there fighting at the coalface or whatever, fighting at the front line. There's no one there. There's a couple of ladies shouting in a couple of sort of suburbs and stuff where the lords are getting out of hand. It's a hectic situation. But we need to turn around in our families. I think it's important that we speak in our families and not make it an unspoken about subject. Make it mainstream. Mainstream. Like, hey, what's the story? Find out exactly what the lay of the land is in school, in clubs. Clubs, that's another story. Next week I'll be telling you some horror stories about the clubs. But at the moment, let's take it from there. Think about your life. Think about the life of your kids. Have a cool weekend and chat to you next time.